Are we going to see much more rain this week? And what about next week? A first look at a hint for the Easter weekend. And is it really true that it's more likely to snow at Easter than it is at Christmas? We'll be trying to answer all of those questions in this week's Met Office Deep Dive. Welcome along. My name's Alex Deakin, a meteorologist here at Met Office HQ in Exeter in Devon. That's where we're broadcasting from. This is the Deep Dive, 20 minutes or so of the very latest in-depth meteorological analysis. We love reading your comments, so please do keep them coming. I will be in the comments at about 4:30 this afternoon. So yeah, if you're watching this just as it gets put up on YouTube, put a comment in. I'll try and answer as many of them around about 4:30 to 5:30. But we'll continue to read them. So if you're watching this later on, keep those comments coming, and we will kind of read them and acknowledge them and take on your feedback. Maybe you've got suggestions about what you'd like to see in the deep dive or other ideas. We're always all ears for any of that. Please do hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up button as well. Give us a like. It does make a difference. It helps to spread the word, and you can spread the word as well. Know any other Met heads who'd like to know about the Met Office Deep Dive, then please do share the love, share the information. Okay, plenty to get on with. As always, we'll start with a beautiful looking satellite image. Just look at those swirls, the low pressure systems continuing to feed outbreaks of rain. This one in particular pushed up as we went through Monday. More low pressure systems gathering down to the southwest, and that's where all our air has been coming from, up from the southwest, which is why it's not only been a bit wet recently, but also pretty mild. Temperatures again today quite widely in the teens, and that will continue at least for the next couple of days before we see quite a big change in our weather into the weekend. But the air is coming up from the southwest. That is why it has been mild, and that's of course being driven by what's going on high up in the atmosphere. So let's take a look at that. This is the jet stream, fairly weak and feeble, but coming up from the southwest, taking low pressure systems with it. But we are in for a bit of a change. Let's move across to North America. A very angry looking jet steaming off the eastern seaboard of the US and Canada, and that is changing our weather patterns over the next couple of days. We can see that it's going to push its way out across the Atlantic and move the low pressure systems all the way up towards Iceland. And look at this little ridge of high pressure trying to move in across the UK, at least temporarily. Haven't seen too many of those moving in, so it will bring some drier weather on Thursday across the south, but low pressure ultimately dominating the situation, being pushed along by that jet stream. Let's take the pressure off and put the temperatures on, because in this position with the jet stream moving up to the north, we're on the warm side of the jet. So that's why we've got the warm air in place at the moment. We've got that warm air. We're on the warm side of the jet. This is the cold side of the jet. That's Thursday. Fast forward, however, well, let's just play it through steadily as we go towards Friday. Notice that jet stream is slipping its way southwards. The jet stream is driving south as a result, again, of what's happening across North America. This dip in here, an area of low pressure developing that is pushing the jet stream north in the western Atlantic, and the jet is then driving its way southwards. So if we pause it there, Saturday, now we're on completely the opposite side of the jet. We're on the cold side of the jet. So let's put the temperatures back on. And yes, lo and behold, the UK has turned an awful lot chillier. So that is the big story as we go through the back end of this week. It has been very mild. It isn't going to stay very mild. It's going to get quite a lot chillier as we go through Friday, and particularly into Saturday and into Sunday. And yes, low pressure will also continue to dominate. So we are going to continue to see plenty of showers through this weekend as well. Isobars reasonably close together as well. The winds will be coming in, and of course around low pressure they're going to be coming in from the north, so accentuating that colder feel. That is why it is turning colder, because the winds at the surface are coming down from the north, and it is going to turn quite a bit chillier and fairly blustery with a mixture of sunshine and showers through the weekend. But it's not all wet weather over the next few days. Let's take a look at the rainfall, because actually for the rest of this week there will be quite a bit of dry weather around. Most of us will have a couple of dry days in what's left of this week. There are a few scattered showers around at the moment. That weather system we saw earlier on the satellite image, that is pushing its way northwards. And if we go through into tonight, that's the way its situation is for tomorrow morning. So let's just pause it there. In fact, let's just take it back a little bit. So tomorrow morning, it's a bit of a soggy sandwich, isn't it? With the rain across these central areas, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales, dull and damp tomorrow morning. To the south of that, still mostly dry and fine, and actually parts of Western Scotland, Northern Ireland going to have a pretty decent day tomorrow because that rain is scooting away, and here we should see some decent spells of sunshine. But in this zone, it's dull and it's damp. Let's take a look at the rainfall totals now. This is one of our new charts that Aidan has been working on with our new graphic system. So we'll put the rain bars on. Let's just tilt the map a little bit. That's cool, isn't it? Like doing that. And as we zoom in, you can see this is today, and you can see these little spikes where we've got the showery bits and bobs of rain today. We fast forward 24 hours, and you can see the whole landscape has changed. As that rain has come moving in, you can see those peaks now over Wales, the east of Northern Ireland. That's where we're going to see the heaviest rain as we go through the night. These are the 3 hourly totals. So this is the total rainfall falling between 3 and midnight tonight. And you can see that central zone, that is where the rain is moving in. And if we just throw that through time, you can see how that rain then peaks across northern England, southern Scotland, before gradually fizzling out. Notice, bar a few spikes across East Anglia, we don't get much rain across the southeast. It all kind of clears out into the North Sea until the next area of rain then comes in on Thursday. So again, let's tilt the map so we can see those. That next weather front coming in will bring rain across the northwest on Thursday. And again, these are the 3 hourly totals. And you can see how as we go through the day on Thursday and into Friday, that rain then starts to push its way south, another band of rain coming in. But most places will, as I say, see at least 1 or 2 dry days through the rest of this week. And the rain that is coming in, those totals looked high because of the scale, but actually we're not going to see huge rainfall totals through the rest of this week. So although the ground is very soggy, and extra rain isn't help, it's not a huge concern, the amounts of rain we're looking at over the next couple of days, because the jet stream is not particularly active close to the UK, so the low pressures that are moving in are not especially lively. One thing that will be quite lively is the winds as they come in. That's the situation high in the sky. That's back to where we are. So this is the system that's coming in tonight, and then this is the system that's coming in as we go through Thursday. But notice the low pressure being pushed up to the north by the jet stream, so that's where the centre of the low is, that's where the isobars are close, but actually the isobars still pretty close together across the UK, so those weather fronts bringing some outbreaks of rain, but the winds are also going to be pretty lively. These are the surface winds on Thursday, so as the rain comes into the northwest, we are going to see the winds picking up as well in that northwestern corner. So it's dull and damp in central areas tomorrow. It's soggy across Scotland and Northern Ireland on Thursday. For England and Wales, Thursday's mostly dry, and then we're into that turning colder and showery mishmash as we go into Friday and the weekend. Let's take a closer look at some of those temperatures because they are quite interesting, I think, over the next few days. This is basically the picture we've got today. So temperatures in the mid to high teens across central and eastern parts. Further north into the low teens. So these temperatures generally a few degrees above average. Fast forward to tomorrow, and we've got a dip in temperatures where we've got that rain. So over these centralised parts of northern England in particular are going to be quite a bit lower in this area because there'll be the cloud and the rain. But look at the temperatures in the southeast, still up to 17, maybe even 18 degrees Celsius. And then by the time we get to Friday, those temperatures have really dropped back much closer to average, only single figures across the northwest. And Saturday's colder still. So we will notice that drop in temperatures. Another way of looking at it, again, another one of our charts that Aidan's been working on. These are the temperatures when compared to the average values over the next few days. So we are above average across the central and eastern parts at the moment. By the time we get to Wednesday, those temperatures still above average across the southeast. But by the time we get to Friday, those temperatures, when compared to average, pretty close to average up and down the land, with lower than average temperatures across the northwest, and Saturday is still even more marked. So temperatures across these central parts between 0 and 3 degrees below average, even some of them just some pockets of darker blue in there, even more than 3 degrees below average. in that central area. So we're going from above average to quite a bit below average in that difference between today and Saturday, with the biggest drop happening between Thursday and Friday. So we are going to notice that chill. Temperatures going from quite a bit above average to quite a bit below average, and the night times in particular are going to get really quite chilly with the likelihood of some frost around. So gardeners, take note if you put any of those delicate plants out. It was a bit early, yeah, just take note. We are a long way from being frost-free at the moment as temperatures drop off again into the course of the weekend. Let's take a look at some of those minimum temperatures actually, because if we pull them up through, this is London's minimum temperatures, so double digits tonight and on Thursday night as well, but then we drop down well into single figures in London, head further north up towards Glasgow. And again, see that similar drop of those temperatures. Edinburgh, something similar as well, going down to 2s and 3s by the time we get into the early part of next week. So maximum, minimum temperatures all dropping off as that colder air comes in later on through this week. So we are in for a bit of a change this week, and it's going to turn more showery through the weekend. If we look at the pressure pattern, as we've already seen, low pressure dominating, that's going to generate showers and that northwesterly flow. Exactly where we see showers, hard to say at this stage, but even into Sunday, low pressure is still the dominant feature, and we're still going to see a mixture of sunshine and showers through both Saturday and Sunday. So that's the broad picture for the weekend. What about the following week? Because, of course, that will be the build-up to Easter. First bank holiday of the year. Well, I guess New Year's Day was a bank holiday, wasn't it? But first bank holiday since New Year's Day, coming up with the Easter weekend looming large. Now, it's still obviously 10 days away even till Good Friday, so too early to put too much detail on. But those of you that are planning, maybe you've got some outdoor things planned for the Easter weekend, you want to know first, heads up. And at the first glance, well, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't look too optimistic for dry and fine weather. What I can show you here is the European model pressure anomaly for the whole of next week. So this is from next Monday, the 25th of March, all the way through to Easter Monday, the 1st of April. My goodness. Now, this is the pressure anomaly, so it's the pressure away from the average pressure at this time of year in this part of the world. And that is quite a strong signal for that period, for pressure to be lower than average. So those bluey green, would you call that teal? I don't know, I think probably a teal. Those teal colors are between 10 and 20 millibars, hectopascals below average. A very strong signal there for pressure to be lower than average across the UK. Now, of course, that is averaged over a whole week, but it does look as if low pressure is going to dominate throughout next week, and probably including the Easter period. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to rain for the full Easter period. Easter is 4 days. The weather in the UK is seldom the same for 4 hours, let alone 4 days. But it does mean that low pressure at this stage is the most likely dominant feature across the UK over the Easter period. Now, that was from Monday's computer model runs, but they've been reasonably consistent over recent computer model runs. So one thing we can do is compare what they looked like 24 hours earlier and before that as well. And there's a reasonable consistency here. It's the same European model pressure anomaly. That is the one I've just shown you from Monday's data. This is the projection from Sunday, so from 2 days ago, and that's from Saturday. And you can see they're all pretty much still telling the same story, that low pressure is going to dominate across the UK. Or pressure will be lower than average throughout next week, including that Easter weekend. So it is looking like it is going to be more mixed with the weather. With low pressure, the air is rising, and it's likely to generate showers or longer spells of rain. But details of exactly where and when, too early to say. We're 10 days away from Good Friday, so you wouldn't be expecting much detail at this stage. But those longer term projections, not too promising. This is the temperature, the meteogram for Birmingham. So this is projections of temperature over the next 14 days or so. Box and whiskers plot, the red blobs, the red box and whiskers, they're the maximum temperatures. The blues, the minimum temperatures. So you can see here, it's quite a clear signal that temperatures, certainly initially, above average. So the average line, you can see that red line moving there through the middle, and you can see the box and whiskers plots are just above that red line there. at the moment because we're warmer than average, we're milder. Then we see that switch so that the plots are all below the average line as we go through into the weekend and indeed for most of next week. They do show signs of rising again closer to the average line around the Easter weekend, but you'll also notice the plots are getting bigger as the uncertainty grows, and that's because we're further away. Now, that is in part to do with the positioning of the low pressure and where it exactly sits. So let's, if the low pressure is here, for example, with the isobars going around it, that could generate more of a southwesterly wind, and that would bring back the milder conditions. However, if the low is sitting over here, then the winds are going to be coming more in from the north or the northwest. So the position of the low will determine the warmth of the atmosphere. So we can see that switch that we're seeing at the moment. We've got those southwesterly winds, which is why it's mild at the moment, switching to northwesterly winds this weekend, or even northerly winds at the weekend, bringing the chillier feel. So yes, we know that low pressure is going to dominate, but the position of that low will determine how warm or how cool it is on any given day. And we could see this low pressure in particular. There are signals that the low will become quite slow moving as we go through next week. The pattern is becoming more amplified, as we say. And so again, the position of that low will be key to the feel of how warm or how cold it is. And that's something we don't know just at this stage. And you wouldn't expect to know that at this stage. We're still, as I say, quite a few days away. So what can we say about the Easter weekend at this stage? Looks like low pressure is the most likely dominant weather feature. And that's with low pressure, that means the air is rising, that generates cloud, it generates rain. So showers or longer spells of rain, the most likely situation at this point. But of course, there will be brighter spells in between the bands of showers. You could get lucky. That could be, most of the showers could be at night where you are. So stay tuned for more updates on the details. Obviously, we'll have more on those as we go through into next week. And with low pressure nearby, close to the UK, always the potential for some strong and gusty winds. That's all we can say at the moment. Jury's out about temperatures. It's getting colder this weekend. Temperatures may well rise as we go through next week, but what they're like over the Easter weekend will really depend on the positioning, the airflow, and where that low pressure is sitting. So that's all we can say at the moment. Please do stay tuned for more updates if you've got plans over the Easter weekend. And again, hit the subscribe button. You'll get all of our forecasts, starting with the 10-day trend tomorrow. Aidan McGivern will be doing that, and that will also lead up towards that Easter period. So Aidan will have more details in that by the time we get to tomorrow. There has been quite a bit of chatter in some of the newspapers about Easter being a washout or Easter being covered in snow. Just too early to say. As we've seen, there's no real evidence for either of those things happening at this stage. One thing that often comes up at this time of year, though, is how likely snow is at Easter in general. You may have heard that snow is more likely at Easter than it is at Christmas. I'm just going to look at some of the stats around that because that's not really true. What we can say, these charts are showing snow lying on the ground, the average over the 30 years from 91 to 2020. Snow lying on the ground in December, there on the left of the screen, snow lying on the ground in March. And you can see that snow is there's far more frequent days where there's snow lying on the ground in the one for December than there is for March. So snow is more likely to be lying on the ground in December compared to March. One of the reasons for that, of course, is by the time you get to March, the sun is getting stronger and stronger. The ground is starting to warm up. So even if you get snow falling, it's less likely to stick around on the ground because the ground has already started to warm up with the power of the sun. So that's not too surprising. So snow more likely to be lying on the ground in December than in March. But what about falling out the sky? Because that's a different metric. Is snow more likely to fall out of the sky at Christmas than at Easter? Well, again, we're breaking it down here using these tables to show the difference between the number of days where snow is falling in March compared to December. breaking it down there by regions as well. So you can see, and then we've got the 3 different climatological periods. So the most recent one, 81 to 2010, and you can see as we go through time, actually those numbers are decreasing. So that's part to do with the fact that our winters are warming up. So snow is becoming less frequent as we go through time. We know that over the climatological periods. But here's the key, and this I think is where that whole rumour/myth that snow is more likely at Easter than Christmas comes from. If you compare March to December, and particularly this one at the end, number of days of snow falling in March across the UK, on average 4.2 in the most recent one, only 3.9 in December. So from that, you could say that snow is more likely to fall in March than it is in December. That is true based on these stats. However, that doesn't back up the story about Christmas and Easter, because if you think about it, if Easter is in March, I think the earliest it can be is the 23rd, right? So it can only be in the last week of March. And this is averaged over the whole of March. And because the start of March is colder than the end of March, you would expect that bias. There would be a bias towards the early part of March. And the same goes for Christmas. Christmas is always the 25th of December, and that happens at the end of December. So these averages don't really pick out, you can't just pick out the average for a whole month and say that therefore that's the average for Christmas, because Christmas is biased towards the end of December, again, when you're getting colder, and so you would have thought that snow is more likely. So yes, when Easter is in March, there is a higher chance of seeing snow compared to when it is in April, but you can't really say that snow is more likely at Easter than it is at Christmas. That is a bit of a myth. So if you hear that down the pub or anyone saying that, you can correct them and point them to this video and tell them that they're probably wrong on that. When Easter is in April, which it is more often than not, obviously the stats change completely, and the snow days are even less frequent in April than they are to March. So just thought I'd show you that, because that's often talked about at this time of year. One thing that's also happening at this time of year, that happens every year, is the equinox. The equinox is Wednesday at 6 minutes past 3 in the morning. So tonight, in the early hours, we will go into the, we will be in spring astronomically. Obviously, meteorological spring. As you'll know if you watch the deep dives regularly or any of our output, our content, spring for meteorologists and climatologists starts on the 1st of March. But astronomically, spring starts once we're past the equinox. That's on Wednesday. It's a specific time where the sun is at the right position in the sky at 6 minutes past 3. It's not the day where days and nights are equal. That is called the equilux. And I'm going to talk now a little bit, try and explain a little bit about the difference between those two. So in the equinox, I'll use my magic pen again now. At the equinox, imagine that's the horizon. So you're looking east, sunrise, and this is the sun coming up. So the equinox, the middle of the sun comes over the horizon. And 12 hours later, if you then look west at sun setting, it'll be 12 hours, or almost 12 hours before the middle of the sun passes back down. So that is the equinox, or that's the day where the equinox falls. The middle of the sun passes the horizon. The middle of the sun goes past the horizon. However, that's not how we measure day length. So this is where the difference comes in, because we measure the start of the day at sunrise. We measure sunrise when just the very top of the sun, what a terrible circle that is, when the very top of the sun peeps over. That's the start of the day, when the top of the sun peaks up, and again, when the top of the sun disappears below the horizon, that is when we say that the day is over. And that is obviously going to happen before the middle of the sun comes up. So the equilux, the day when day and night are closest to being equal happens a little bit before the equinox, and it's to do with the way that we measure when day starts, to do with the position of the sun compared to the equinox, when the middle of the sun goes over the horizon. It's not even exactly that straightforward because the light gets bent through the atmosphere as well. So there's two factors as to why the equinox and the equilux are slightly different. I haven't explained that very well. There is another post that we made on TikTok that Alex Burkill made the other day. So go and check that out on TikTok, which explains it all far better than I just did there. But hopefully that's a broad overview of what the difference is between the equinox and the equilux. Also, don't forget, while you're on TikTok, to check out our climate channel. We have a Met Office channel, which the Equinox Equilux Explainer is, but we also have a climate channel on TikTok. And on there today we have posted about this because hot off the press today there is a new climate report from the WMO, State of the Global Climate. And it's all about multiple climate records being broken last year, talking about the warm seas, how the land temperatures have been higher than before, and the average over the globe and compared to the pre-industrial levels. There's a post on our website about it, so there's a press release from the Met Office about it, and we've also posted on there on our TikTok climate channels today as well. While we're on the subject of the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, it's World Met Day on Saturday, so time to celebrate. 23rd of March for all meteorologists and fellow Met heads, big day to celebrate the setup of the WMO in 1950. It was on the 23rd of March, so 23rd of March is World Met Day. So feel free to celebrate however you do. One thing I could suggest is you just watch all of our deep dives over and over again. That would be a great way to celebrate. Or you could just share the love and let people know that we do these deep dives every Tuesday. Please keep your comments coming. I hope you've enjoyed today's installment. Please keep your comments coming, your questions, your suggestions. If you've not done it already, please hit the like button as well. As I said, it does make a big difference to us. Big thank you to Adrian, who's next door today, who set it all up and been doing the zoom in and the zoom out. He is the director today, and thank you for all your comments. Please do keep them coming. And that's it for me for today. I'll see you again soon.